Okay, I'm going to work with these Blackwing pencils, and my recording was a bit splotchy, so we'll see how this goes. But what you want to think about is the height of the head versus the height of the body, and that will help you with your proportions. So the body is quite a bit longer. I would say about a head and a half for the body. Once I get that proportion correct, I want to get these big eyes in there, and they take up a majority of the head. And then look at the width of the eyes and the angles, and then that little nose juts in there just slightly below the eye, right where that bottom of the eye sits. And then the mouth is also really tiny, and that indicates a feature for babies: big eyes, tiny mouth, and nose features. And then they've got, for this baby Yoda, these big eyebrow bones, right? So they're not eyebrows and they're not eyebrow bones. What do we call this little alien feature? So really it's an organic shape, and I look at the distance of negative space in between the eyeball and that brow bone and try and get that angle correct. And then I look at the top of the head and how much distance between the head and that brow bone. And then the brow bone on the right kind of juts out, but not as much on the left. And then the ears I love because they're organic and they're at an angle that's opposite each other, and the distance that the ear comes out matters. So just try and get that one on the left, it seems like it's bigger, and then the one on the right doesn't stick out quite as far and it's angled up, which is super endearing. And then I'm going to start getting in a little bit more proportion details of like the collar and the arms and the angles. And nothing on this little baby Yoda is geometrical or straight. So we have organic angles and lines. And then where that little elbow juts out, it's about halfway down from the collar to the midsection, and it comes out a bit, but not much at all. The ear extends quite a bit, and we don't want anything on the body to get close to that width of the ear. And so I'm just going to start messing around with that sleeve and chunking in just the basic shapes of the fingers. And I like drawing features like this on like a character just because they don't really exist. And so if you're off a little bit, it's believable, which is kind of nice for just a practice sketch. So things that help me get my proportions right is I look at the eyeball and I drop a straight line down and I see where that arm starts out of the sleeve. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties, it just jumped my video ahead, but I drew both sides. I want you to look at the mug that he's holding and the distance from each little finger digit, those negative spaces, so that you can see how much of the mug is there. And then going back in and just sharpening up some of these lines and features on the face, making sure my tip of my pencil is nice and sharp. I actually regret that I ended up drawing this as small as I did, because it was kind of hard to get those details. I should have drawn it bigger. Another thing to think about with that robe, we've got this fabric that comes down and half vertically down the page, and it's not a straight line, and the right side hangs lower than the left. Those kind of little details matter and make, like I said, it makes that fabric look more organic. And then you just go in and add some shading for details to make it look finished, and then you're done.